Good afternoon to you all. Today we are continuing the Panchayati Raj chapter which I left yesterday as I explained the introduction part in the first video. In the second video we are further moving ahead and going into much detail about the Panchayati Raj Act. So this is a book you must be aware with the name of Indian Polity by Lakshmikant. So we are reading from this book. So going into the basic introduction part, mm, first of all I want to tell you about the significance of this act. So here you have to remember some facts. Like first fact is this act added a new part to the constitution, that is part 9. So you have to remember it, which under which part of the Indian constitution is Panchayati Raj Act mm, um, added into the constitution. So it was the ninth part of Indian constitution. And sometime in the PCS exam they ask about the articles also. So Panchayati Raj Act is dealt from Article 243 to 243O, and this is the second fact. Third fact is that it added a 11th schedule to the Constitution. So 11th schedule is another fact. 11th schedule, as we know that there are 12 schedules in our Indian Constitution. So the Panchayati Raj Act is under 11th schedule, and under the 12th schedule it is municipalities. And this schedule contains 29 functional items of Panchayati Raj. So these are some areas where or domain or sphere where panchayat functions. So these are the area where panchayat deal with these functions. So there are 29 functional areas under 11 schedule. So these are some facts which we have to remember. We can furthermore go into details, like as I told you earlier that it gave shape to the Article 40 of the Indian Constitution, which was the vision of Mahatma Gandhi, mm, which was the organization of village panchayat. So Article 40 it gave a shape to the Article 40, which was a part of directive principle of state policy, as we all know. Article 40. This act also gave a constitutional status to the Panchayati Raj. This is another fact. Moreover, the provision of the act can be grouped into two categories: compulsory and voluntary. So you have to remember that all the provision of Panchayati Raj which was added in the constitution, they were not all compulsory. Some part were made compulsory and some were taken to be voluntary. So as we all know that the compulsory or mandatory provision of the act have to be included in the in the state laws, creating the new Panchayati Raj system under the article under the constitutional amendment of 73rd constitutional amendment. On the other hand, the voluntary provision were at the discretion of the state. So you have to remember this also, that all the provision are not compulsory. The next important thing is that which is a very conceptual part or philosophical part, that it gave it was a significant landmark in the evolution of grassroots democratic institution in the country. It transferred the representative democracy into the participatory democracy. As we all know that we have a representative democracy, that MLAs or MPs are elected. They act as a representative of people in the respective legislatures. So this turned from representative to participatory democracy. Participatory democracy means that, as we all know that all the registered voter are the part of Gram Sabha. So the people there discuss their problem, make plans, or give approval to the plans. So it acted as a platform to discuss and solve the local problems with the active participation of people. So it turned, and so this was a significant landmark. It turned from representative democracy into participatory democracy. Next, we are going to discuss the salient feature of this act. The first of all, it is Gram Sabha. So the basic question asked from this Gram Sabha is that once a UPSC asked a question about Gram Sabha, that who are the member of Gram Sabha. So we will not go in every details, but will focus on the important details only. So it is a body consisting of persons registered in the electoral roll of village, comprised within the area of panchayat at the village level. So here the important fact is that they must be registered voters, that they must be registered in the electoral roll. It means that they must be registered voter. So they are only the member of Gram Sabha. If they are not registered, they are not, whether they are above 18 or less than 18. And all the people of the village are not also the member uh, of this Gram Sabha, only the registered voters. So this is one fact. And second aspect of this act is that it gave a three-tier system. So this act provided for a three-tier Panchayati Raj system in each and every state. At the district level, there is district panchayat, and at the block level, there is intermediate panchayat, and this village level, we call it village panchayat. So these are the three level of panchayat, uh, and this areas. Mm, and the act also defined the what does it mean by village, what does mean by the intermediate level, and what is mean by district. So you don't have to go much in detail. And there is one more fact also, that a state having a population not exceeding 20 lakh may not constitute panchayat at intermediate level. So next is the members and chairperson. So we have to remember that all the member of panchayat at the block, intermediate and district level shall be directly elected by the people. So all the member at the district, block, which we also call intermediate level, and the village level, their member are elected directly by the people. So we all know that a village, uh, uh, mm, the area is divided into some wards, and these wards elect members, and their president is called the chairperson, which we also call in village as pradhan or sarpanch. Further, the chairperson of panchayat at the intermediate and district level shall be elected indirectly and from amongst the elected member thereof, and the chairperson of panchayat at the village level shall be elected in such a manner as state legislature determine. So at the village level, the state legislature determine whether the chairperson or the pradhan, we call it, will be elected directly by the people, or the member from the village, which we call as ward member, they elect the sarpanch or the chairperson. While at the district and the block level, their chairperson is indirectly elected from amongst the member which are elected directly by the people. So here the chairperson is indirectly elected. Mm, and about the reservation of seat. And about the reservation of seat, the Act provides for reservation of seat for SCs, STs, in every panchayat, that is all the three level, district, block, and that is which we call it intermediate, and the village level, in proportion to the population. So the reservation is according to the proportion of population in that panchayat area. Further, the state legislature shall provide for the reservation of chairperson in the panchayat at the village or any other level for SC and ST. So there is reservation at the member level also and at the chairperson level also. So at both level there is reservation for SCs and STs. The act provide for the reservation of not less than one third of total number of seats for women. So there is further more reservation for women, including the number of seats reserved for women belonging to SC and STs. Further, not less than one third of total member of chairperson in the panchayat at each level shall be reserved for women. So here also at the so here also the chair at the chairperson level there is reservation for women, and at also the member level there is reservation for women. The reservation is one third, and at also the chairperson level the reservation is same, one third of total number of office. So here we have to keep in mind these facts. So there is one more provision, that it also authorizes the legislature of the state to make any reservation of seat in any panchayat or office in the favor of backward classes. So this is not a provision. This is not a provision which is compulsorily given. So this is a provision which state legislature can determine that whether they want to give reservation to the backward classes if they do not have adequate representation. So it is at the discretion of the state legislatures. Next is the duration of panchayat. So the act gave a 5-year term of office to the panchayat at all the three levels. However, it can be dissolved, like we have the legislature at the center and the state. They can also be dissolved before the completion of their term. They can be dissolved before the completion of a term. Further, fresh election to constitute a panchayat shall be completed before the expiry of 5 period, because the limit is 5 years for the office of panchayat at all three levels. Next, in case of dissolution before the expiry of period of 6 months from the date of its dissolution. So in case of premature dissolution, the election have to be conducted within the 6 months of dissolution of the panchayat. But there is a condition where the remainder of the period for which the dissolved panchayat would have continued is less than 6 months. Means if there is a premature dissolution, and we all know that the term is 5 years. Here, if the period is about to complete and it is less than 6 months, and but before completing the 5 year it has been dissolved, then it shall not be necessary to hold any election. It means, for example, that the term is 5 year and the panchayat has completed the tenure of uh, 4 year and 8 month. The 2 months are remaining. Then it is not necessary to hold any election, because the tenure has been left of only 2 year, which is less than 6 months. So this is another concept which we have to keep in mind. And moreover, when there is a premature dissolution of any panchayat, then the panchayat uh, duration will remain only for the remainder of period for which the dissolved panchayat would have continued. That is, if it had been dissolved after 3 years, so obviously the election has to be conducted within 6 months, and after the election, the panchayat will remain for a term of only 2 years, because three year has already been completed. So here we have to keep in mind that if there is a premature dissolution, then the panchayat will remain in term for the remaining period only, not full. It is not given the full tenure of 5 years. Another important aspect of this Panchayati Raj Act is disqualification about the member. So a person shall be disqualified for being chosen or being member of panchayat if he is so disqualified under any law for the time being in force for the purpose of election to the legislature of state concerned. Second, under any law made by the state legislature. So that is, and there are 2 points. First is just under any law for the time in force for the purpose of election to the legislature, that is member of legislative assembly. So if there are any rules regarding the ML which are applicable to the MLAs, so the same rules will be applicable to these Panchayati Raj candidate who are willing to contest the election or are the members. Second point is that under any law made by the state legislature. Here is if there are any specific law made by the state legislature, like in some state there is a compulsory provision that the person who is going to contest the election must have a uh, toilet in their homes, otherwise he cannot contest election. So these are the rule which are made by the state, and they are not uniform over across India. They varies from state to state. However, no person shall be disqualified on the ground that he is less than 25 year of age if he has attained the age of 21 year. So here the age criteria has been reduced from 25 year to 21 year, as we all know that for contesting election for the legislative assembly, that is MLA, it is 25 year, but here to the member of Panchayati Raj it is only 21 year. So here three conditions are there. First, he must be he must be uh, what we can say, that he must have the qualification of member of legislative assembly. Next important thing is state election commission. So here we have to keep in mind that superintendence, direction and control for the preparation of electoral roll and the conduct of all election to the panchayat shall be vested in the state election commission. So a state election commission is the topmost body responsible for the conduct of election in the all level of Panchayati Raj. So here we have to keep in mind some fact related to the state election commission. It consists of a state election commissioner to be appointed by the governor. His condition of service, and office tenure of office shall be determined by the governor. So governor appoint the state election commissioner, and all his tenure and term of condition are decided by the governor. He shall not be removed from the office of state election commissioner except in the manner on the ground prescribed for the removal of judge of high court. So his removal is similar to the removal of judge of high court, and we all know that judge of high court is removed by the president. So we will learn the removal of judge of state high court in the chapter of high court, like what is the procedure for removing the judge of state high court, as the judge of state high court removal and the Supreme Court judge removal is same. They are done by the president uh, when the bill is passed to the parliament by special majority. So we have to keep in mind that though it is appointed by the governor, but it is removed by the president of India. Um, Power and functions. So as we all know that it is a state subject. So the state legislature determine it gives the power to the panchayat, which are necessary to enable them to function as an institution of self-government. So they must be needed. There must be needed some resources for the smooth functioning of the panchayats. So mm, the so such a scheme may contain provision for the devolution of power and responsibilities upon panchayat at the appropriate level with respect to preparation of plan for the economic development and social justice, implementation scheme for economic development and social justice as we interested to them, including those in relation to the 29 matter listed in the 11th schedule. As I told you earlier that there are 29 matters which are enlisted in the 11th schedule. It means that these are the 29 areas where the Panchayati Raj deal. It is similar to the uh, mm, like 7th schedule. Like there are the three lists: central list, state list, and concurrent list. So as the center has devolved some power to the state, in a similar fashion, the state legislature has devolved some power to the panchayats. So these are some further more details how the state legislature, what the state legislature do for the finances for the panchayat, how they are financed, and for this finances there is a finance commission also under Panchayati Raj. The governor appoint the finance commission after every 5 years, as we have at the center and the state. mm, there is a finance commission which is elected after every 5 years. So these are the provisions. What will the finance commission make the recommendation to the governor? So these are the points which you have to remember. These are some another provisions: audit of account, application to union territories. So here you have to keep in mind some facts. When we talk about the application to the union territories of the Panchayati Raj Act, the president may direct. The president has the power to direct that they would apply to union territory or not, or if they are applied, what will be some exemption or modification. The president has the power to do so. So these are the exempted area where the Panchayati Raj Act does not apply. The act does not apply to the state of Nagaland, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and certain other areas. So these are the area you can remember. We also do forget these areas, but with a constant revision or multiple revision, we can we can remember up to some extent. Next important thing is the parliament may extend the provision of this part to the scheduled areas and the tribal areas, subject to such exceptions and modification as it may specify. So the parliament has the power to extend this provision to the scheduled areas and tribal areas. As some of you must be knowing that these scheduled areas and tribal areas, they are defined in the Indian Constitution. So the scheduled areas are defined under the fifth schedule of Indian Constitution, and the tribal areas are defined under the sixth schedule of the constitution. Sixth schedule talks about the tribal areas in four states: A. Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura. AMT. Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura. And the fifth schedule areas. So this talk about the provision related to the scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. So these scheduled area and scheduled tribes are in 10 states. So under this provision, Parliament has enacted the PESA Act, which is the provision of Panchayat extension to the Scheduled Areas Act 1996. So there is separate act PESA which was passed in 1996 for the extension of Panchayat to these both 5th and 6th scheduled areas. So this is all about some further more details about the Panchayati Raj Act. That is, there is bar to interference by the court in electoral matter. So there is clearly written that the act bar the interference by court in the electoral matter of panchayat. It means that it also says that it further lays down that no election to the any panchayat is to be questioned except by an election petition presented to the such authority as determined by the state legislature. So if there is an electoral dispute at the district or intermediate, or which we call it block level or the village level, so there are separate bodies decided by the state legislature where if there is electoral dispute or any other matter relating to the election, so these body decide, act as a adjudicating body at all three levels. Like in some state, like at village level, if there is electoral dispute, there is SDM. So in the similar fashion, there are other authorities which decide the matters. Last is the 11th schedule. So as I told you earlier that it contains 29 functional items. So these are the areas where Panchayat Act. So these are 29 items under this 11th schedule. So you can't remember each and every item, but with some common sense, if there is a question regarding this functional items, you can easily figure out that what can be the areas under the panchayats or these panchayati raj bodies at all the three levels. So you can figure out some odd areas which you must be thinking that this cannot be in the Panchayati Raj Act. Otherwise, agriculture, you can easily guess out that it may be under the Panchayat. Land improvement, land reform, minor irrigation, animal husbandry, fisheries, forestry, minor forest produce, small scale industries, khadi, village cottage industry, rural housing, drinking. As you must be knowing that rural housing, drinking, all are these under the Panchayati Raj. Full fodder, roads, bridges, rural electrification. This you can remember. Non-conventional sources of energy. This you can also remember. These look some different function, which you must be thinking there that they are not under the Panchayati Raj, but they are there. Poverty alleviation, technical training and vocational education. All other functions seems to enter the Panchayati Raj. This health and sanitation, including hospitals, family welfare, maintenance of community asset, public distribution system. This is all under the Panchayati Raj Act. So there are in the likewise there are 29 functions which are under the Panchayat, where the Panchayat act as a body, regulate them, monitor them. So this is all about the Panchayati Raj. We will need another part where some remaining provision of the Panchayati Raj Act will be covered. And on the basis of what I have taught you, we will do some multiple choice question and revise the whole chapter which I have taught you in this video.